Mr. Makwe Masilela from Bp Bernstein. Thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the program. So during the course of this week, we've been talking about business confidence reaching low levels, consumer confidence also retracting. And I just wonder, from what you heard today, is that going to do anything to turn that around? Because unless those are turned around, all of that really is not going to come to much.
True, Peter. Remember, people spend based on confidence. If you're confident that your future is okay, then you don't have a problem to spend money today. So if business confidence, consumer confidence is at low levels, then unfortunately we are in a tough situation. Just look at our GDP numbers, the past numbers. What affected our numbers to go down? Mainly because consumers were not in there. You know, you check the trade, you check the sales, you check warehousing, you know, it's all because consumers are not too happy. And bear in mind that our economy, just over 60% thereof is more of consumer demand.
Is there anything new that he said? You know, I was looking personally for a new revelation of some kind. Did you hear anything?
Not necessarily. You know, one can safely say you cannot praise a fish for swimming. That is what he's just supposed to be doing. That's his day-to-day job. Yes, he managed to put in the timelines. People will be excited about the timelines, but people who are involved in the private sector, they know that everything's got a timeline, you know, so there's nothing new in that. You know, just check our manufacturing is down almost by 40%. What's in there to tell us what is it they're going to be doing to help that part of the world? I don't know or remember the last time we managed to sink a shaft here in South Africa. I think it was 1987, 88 at the western area. Since 1994, I don't remember any mine being able to do that. Why? Because people are not confident enough to be able to put their money to work. And as we're talking today, businesses are sitting with over 500 billion rands, you know, but they're not confident enough to be able to put it into the economy. And that's what's supposed to be happening. So I think the government needs to realize their job is to create an environment where people can be confident enough to be able to put the money to work here.
He talked about accountability in the state-owned enterprises, but you know, for years people have been talking about the leaders that had been placed in these boards and running these state-owned enterprises, and there was resistance to change these people. So people might be wondering, what's going to be different this time around?
People need to realize that, you know, as much as you might need to do some political favors, but you need to put people who are capable. And at the end of the day, you know, you get a state-owned enterprise. Take Eskom, you know, they've got almost 15 billion coming from DBSA. DBSA is another state-owned entity. So you tell yourself, where's this whole thing going, you know? So at the end of the day, you need to get capable people to do the job for you. And we've got so many good things going for us here in South Africa, let alone our good banking system, you know. I mean, we've got, when you check our industrial companies, you check their capital to debt, we are one of the lowest, meaning our companies don't have debt. So if the environment permits, these people are in a position to be able to expand. As they expand, they are creating jobs. And remember, the government is only making money from taxes. And but from those taxes, the highest is the pay as you earn. So the more people work, then the more revenue government will be able to collect.
Are you confident that there's the political will there? We're in a very politically charged time now, environment, particularly in the lead up to the national conference for the ANC at the end of the year. So the mining charter is one of the things that he wants to talk about, and yet we're already having uncertainty about, is everybody on board with it inside the ruling party? How then can he inspire us to believe that this will get sorted out? I mean, we've got the mining industry in court over this issue.
And remember, the mining industry, that's the sector that used to contribute almost 21% to our economy. Now it's only contributing a mere 8%. And talking about the mining charter, if they continue to implement it in the current format, then that will continue to get investors to move away. And, you know, if you talk about political will, Peter, yeah, just yesterday, Brazil, which is our peer when it comes to BRICS, they came with a very serious intervention, and one doesn't suggest that we need to do copy and paste. They managed to legislate that they're doing away with unions. You know, that was a serious intervention. You know? So we need something drastic like that, not necessarily doing away with unions, but what we call something more tangible, that this is what we need to do, this is the intervention that the government is coming with. Then to me, that will be more of a political way.
But he's suggesting that he's going to stay within the fiscal framework that's already been drawn. But he talks about tough decisions that are due in the medium-term budget. What could those be, and what's required?
You know, I think it's a question of reprioritizing. People who are not spending money wherever they were supposed to spend it, then unfortunately they have to take that money away from that. And yes, we have to give him a benefit of the doubt. The guy is caught up in a growth trap. The global economy is not doing that well for him, and we've got limited resources. And another thing that he should be also focusing on is the question of, you know, if they've allocated certain funds, make sure it gets to be executed. If those funds have to go back to Treasury, that's the opportunity cost we just wasted. We could have employed those funds to be able to create the necessary jobs. So he also needs to look into that as well. Because here we are, it's not that we don't have money. The question is, we are not be able to implement all these 90 plans that we have.
And the Auditor General continues to make these revelations of wasteful expenditure. And until they can rein that in almost immediately, that's going to be the slippage that's going to continue to cause problems.
Exactly, and you need some serious intervention. And for people to be able to implement, it means you need to get individuals who know what they're doing, and definitely they'll be able to execute all those nice plans that we have on paper.
So he says the growth target of 1.3% is still what they're hoping for. Is that possible?
It's not, and come the midterm budget statement, he will definitely review that, and we give him a benefit of the doubt. It only makes sense for him to be able to review that then, instead of just at any press conference reviewing that. It's not achievable at all. Yes, we will have at least a positive growth. We don't expect this quarter, the second quarter, to be negative, given what has been happening with manufacturing and also mining, but 1.3 I think is not possible.
All right, look, let's not be negative. Let's look at this 14 points and say what could work.
What could work? Number one, take Eskom itself. For him to say, listen, we're going to stop, or we're going to be more careful when it comes to the issuing of guarantees, especially for operational things. He's just so right, you know. People need to get their acts right. He's on point. For SAA to say, hey, we need to appoint CEO, that's long overdue. He's right. Peter, all that thing in paper looks just okay. If all those things get to be implemented, that's very good, but they're not enough to be able to turn. You know, so we're not saying that bad. The question is that intervention going to turn around the economy? So the answer is no, but those are necessary things that he has to do.
Again, I suppose political will becomes a big thing there. Radical economic transformation has been changed to socio-economic transformation. Does that make a difference? You're calling for quite radical changes actually yourself.
No, you know, it's a question of getting to get, I think maybe let's talk about practical intervention instead of calling it radical or whatever. Whatever is practical, working for our people, because yes, we've got issues of poverty, unemployment, inequality, that needs to be addressed. The status quo cannot remain.
All right, final question. How do we encourage the private sector to join the party and be part of it? He talked about this private sector participation. Has he created enough of an enabling environment and trust for private sector to jump in, or must private sector save the country regardless?
Reality is private money is looking for a return. If you show me a project where I'll make a good return, definitely I'll get involved.
Okay, so that's the bottom line actually. Where there's profits, there will be investment.
By all means.
All right, Makwe, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your insights on this very important conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
All right, that was Makwe Masilela from Bp Bernstein. Let's take a look at your